Russia has captured territory in Ukraine's Sumi region for the first time since 2022. This escalates tensions as Kyiv struggles to hold its ground in Russia's neighbouring Kersh region. Moscow's defence ministry claims its forces have liberated the village of Novenki, which is located just a kilometre from the Kersh border. Military analysts say this move could threaten a key Ukrainian supply route. Kyiv has yet to respond to Russia's claims. Meanwhile, US and Ukrainian negotiators are preparing for crucial talks in Saudi Arabia this week, with the Trump administration pushing for a ceasefire and a framework for peace. To pressure Kyiv into negotiations, the US has halted Ukraine's access to intelligence sharing and satellite information, though it's understood that some of this may have returned. Russia briefly occupied parts of Sumi at the start of its 2022 invasion, but hasn't gained new ground there until now. Joining us to discuss the latest developments in the war between Russia and Ukraine is Glenn Grant, an ex-advisor of Ukrainian Defence Minister, who's joining us from Riga in Latvia. Glenn, thank you very much for being here. I want to first look at the gains that are being made by Russian forces in the Kursk region. How important is it for Ukraine to keep hold of some of this territory, no matter how large that territory is, given that negotiations and conversations over a peace deal might be a card that Zelensky needs in order to try and get the best deal he can?
I think we need to go back and just understand that there is no peace deal going at all. There's no deal. What we're talking about is Trump bullying Ukraine into submission. That is the first and most important thing. And if he does that, there will be no deal, because Russia has made it absolutely clear that they're not going to stop, because Putin believes, and I think quite rightly at the moment, that he's winning. And now he's winning even quicker, which you've just heard from the Sumi region, because Trump has stopped the support. And if Trump stops the support, then Ukraine is struggling, and maybe struggling for a while until European Union countries actually pick up the ball and run with it, as we say. but we're not looking at a peace deal at the moment at all. What we're looking at, as I say, is complete subjugation of Ukraine for Russia, which Trump is helping happen.
Yes, Trump's words within the last sort of 12 hours or so, he said that Ukraine may not survive, as he, of course, prepares a delegation to meet with Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia. Do you think that is a realistic possibility? And also, do you think this plays into Russia's hands, given the fact that they almost can control this now, given the fact that Ukrainian forces are retreating and losing out on the battlefield?
I mean, there's several things in there. The first thing is that, you know, Trump's team are basically going to use the Russian playbook for any arguments and discussions, and Ukraine is definitely in a weak spot. But don't believe it's given up, because it hasn't. Because there's a great faith in the country that they will overcome even Trump if they have to. But these are very, very difficult days at the moment, especially with the pressure on Zelensky from many sides, including internally, because he's been linked to corruption activities as well as trying to run the country. So I see that this is going to be a bumpy ride for the next few weeks. And and even if the negotiators sign and make a deal with Trump's team, there is no guarantee that the body politic throughout the whole of Ukraine will agree to that deal, because the people who are going to negotiate are primarily unpopular. So this is a very, very complex time.
Yes, Glenn, you mentioned a little while ago about Europe and European support. How vital is that now, given everything that we've seen over the last week and a half since that blow up in the Oval Office and the withdrawing of support from the US?
It is vital, but the problem we have at the moment is that the majority of the European leaders are administrators. They are not war leaders. And so the movements, there's plenty of talk, but far less action underneath. And what action there is is slow, and it's not what is often needed for a country that is at war. So that support is there, but it's variable. And even Macron, who's shouting loudly about what he's going to do, he's not actually doing anything. He's just talking loudly. And there needs to be the European leaders need to actually to make themselves understand that this is a war. It's not just some computer game or paper game. So Europe is there, but it still hasn't grasped the nettle properly.
Yes, and Glenn, to bring an end to this discussion, we of course are looking ahead now to the next couple of days and talks that will take place between the US and Ukrainian officials. Do you think there's any way in which the Ukrainian delegation can get the US back on side in some capacity? And how could that look moving forward if there was to be success at those talks for Ukraine?
Well, there cannot be success in those talks for Ukraine because they are up against Trump's team that wants to squash them. This is not; these are talks, but they're not negotiations. Trump will not accept any negotiation because he's aligned himself with Russia and with Putin's ambitions, and Putin's not going to allow him, if you can use that expression, allow him to actually to give anything to Ukraine except surrender. So I cannot see still that the Ukrainians can do this in any honest fashion for the whole country.
Glenn, thank you very much for your time in this tumultuous time for Ukraine and tumultuous time for peace in the region. We will continue to bring you all of the latest updates.